Whether this is your first time running through your taxes or this is your sixth time doing that through Tithely, we know that being here on this call is going to provide some value because we do innovate and grow in our tax season platform every single year. So jumping in here, I wanted to start by just talking about a timeline for running statements. So you might be thinking that the minute that December 31st hits, January 1st, you should be coming into the office and sending out tax statements. But the reality of this at Tithely is that if anyone has given on December 31st and they've given through ACH, you're going to want to make sure that money has had time to settle before sending out your tax statements. Because of this, we encourage everyone to actually wait until January 15th to actually begin sending out your tax statements to account for everything settling. This is something that if you kind of forget about this and come in on January 6th or something and go to your tax statements, you will see a pop-up that reminds you, hey, just make sure everything has settled before you do this. Because we want to just make sure that you don't send out all of your tax statements and then someone who gave on the 31st with an ACH, maybe it hasn't settled quite yet and they don't have that transaction on their statements. So we just encourage you to wait a little bit there. Also, I love to talk about a trial run for your statements. I don't know about you, but when I go to sit down and do the actual thing to like push all of the buttons, it can be really nerve-wracking. So what I wanted to encourage us here is that you could go in right now, right after this, and you can go through and run your tax statements for what we have up until this point, just so that you're comfortable clicking the buttons. You feel confident in knowing what the buttons are. You make sure that you know exactly what you want in your cover letter or for this or that information. We encourage you to do that trial run for your tax statements just because it can build your own confidence. If you've done this year over year, your information is going to, re-show up from the last year. So you'll have some things already filled in. But we want to say, like, you totally can go in and you totally can do this right now. And by going through the process, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have emailed everyone or that you can have to print them. You can do this on a trial run basis. Something else I wanted to talk about as we're preparing for sending tax statements is where are you sending your tax statements from? If you are a church that only has Tithely and that's all you use, then that's great. You will send your tax statements through Tithely. I want to encourage that. I love that. I think our platform is great for that. Also, if you are a Breeze customer, that's also great. You will have to decide there if you're sending your tax statements through Breeze or through Tithely. Or I know that there's other customers who have other integrations that might integrate with Tithely. So if you have Elvanto or if you have other integrations, this might be maybe a planning center or a CCB, and we are sending your data from Tithely into your integration, and you're deciding to send it from your integration instead of Tithely, then you don't need as much of this information. But if you're sending that through Tithely, if you're sending that through your integration, we want you to know that we have the ability to audit your integration. We're basically saying that, yes, you could go into your two systems and you could spot check some things and you could make sure that things are flowing and showing correctly, but we want you to know that our team can actually help you with auditing your integration. This is a service that we provide for you. And so if this is something that you would find helpful, you actually can reach out to us at support@tide.ly and we'll put you in touch with the right team that will be able to help audit the integration to make sure that if you're pulling this from Breeze, we can make sure that all of your data is in Breeze. Or if you're pulling this from Elvanto, everything's in there. PCO, CCB, etc. All of those, we can make sure that all of your data from Tithely is correctly into your other system. So feel free to reach out to us. We are excited and so willing to help you through that. The last thing I want to talk about here is just making sure your donor data is up to date. Maybe you have a sticky note on your desk that is like, you need to make sure that you update these person's email addresses, or these mailing addresses, or any of those things. I just really want to encourage you, as we go into this season, that you go ahead and go in and update any of that information that you might need to. This is just a great time to do that before the busyness of sending out tax statements. Maybe it'll be a little bit less stressful on the other side of things if you go in and do that now. And so just encouraging you to do that. And a reminder here, and Chandler will talk about it as she goes through her demo, you do have the option to email or print statements. So if you maybe need to prep yourself in any way through emailing or printing them, even making sure your printer is working and you are ready to go on that side of things, just anything that you can think of that we want to encourage you to go ahead and do ahead of time, so that when you go to click the buttons, you're totally prepped, you're totally ready, and everything goes on without a hitch. So with some of that information, I'm actually going to pass it over to Chandler to talk about creating and sending your tax statements.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julia. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now if you want to let
Yes,
me do that.
I would love to.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, well, let's jump in here. So when you're going to go ahead and do your tax statements, you want to be in the giving space. So when you first log in, this is where you are. And I'm going to go ahead and just walk through exactly what you would do to see or to look through your tax statements. Like Julia was saying, if you want to do a test run, this is a great way to do that. And I'll just walk through all of the different options here. So we're going to go ahead, click on giving. And then we're going to come down here to tax statements. So this is important to know on this page in particular. You're going to see any previous batches that you've ever pulled up. And from here, say you ran this batch today, and then someone else gave and you needed to rerun it. You don't have to start fresh. You can just regenerate that statement here. And that's an easy way to pull in any extra ones that may have, happened later, or if you made an adjustment in the people area or your funds or anything like that. That's a great way to do it instead of having to start completely over. You can also delete a batch here. Just be careful with this, as it's not it's not recoverable. You would have to run your statements completely over again if you were to delete that. So we're going to start with a new batch. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I select the correct year. It's defaulted to 2023 right now, just purely because it's the previous year and we're not in tax season just yet. It will eventually default to 2024, but for now we're going to manually change that. And if you have multiple locations, you can actually pick to do the tax statements based on just a single campus, or you can choose to do all locations together. For this instance, I'm going to go ahead and say all locations, and I'm going to click Generate Statements. Here's another distinction. If you use households in your people area, that means that the household member name, so like the last name, will pull all tax statements for that household into one document. Whereas if you do by individual, it will just split that out. So say me and my husband, we're a household, all of our donations would be together on one statement. If I did it by individual, both my husband and I would receive separate statements. So I'm going to use households for this instance so I can show you that example. The other thing to note is that you can hide the memo from the description details. This is automatically off. If you would like to turn that on to where it is hiding the memo, that's what you would switch that on to. Some people have memo fields that are entered by the donor that they would like to be able to see on their statements. This is where you can turn that on or off. And then choosing your time zone for date formatting is also important, because that's where you want to decide if you want what time zone you'd like for your donations to show in. Okay, let's continue to cover letter details. Now, this information will pre-populate if you've done statements before. If not, then all of this information would need to be filled out manually. So you can make the name. This is the title of your statement. This box, if you don't fill anything in here, this kind of ghost lettering that's in the background here is exactly what will show up. If you do type something in there, then this will start going away. For example, if I, for example, start typing in here, all of that disclaimer goes away. So you're welcome to adjust that. This is totally customizable. You would enter your church name, your tax ID, your church address, and then the administrator, whoever this is that you want to be on the bottom of the receipt, as well as their title and then their signature. There will be a box for you to upload this, and you would just do that. And if you ever needed to replace it, you would delete it and you could start over from there. So I'm going to go ahead and click Generate Statements. Now, this is an awesome box here. So this actually gives you the chance to receive an email when the statements are done generating. Normally, you would just sit on this page and wait for these statements to finish generating, and then you would just have to keep checking back. Now, we have a notification that will send to your email saying, hey, your statements are ready. So while we wait for this batch to populate, I'm going to go ahead and show you a batch that I generated yesterday. So we're going to go in and look at this. And there's a few things that I want to make sure that we note here. There are options to email all and print all. So when you generate the statement, it does not automatically email or print or send them to the donors right away. You do have to manually do that step. If I were to click email all, it would send them right away. There's no confirmation area. So that's important to know as well. The other thing that is really something you want to pay attention to is your merge area. So if I click on this, I can see that there are several duplicates that are showing. So let's go, for example, with Bonnie here. I can see that she's got 2 entries, which therefore is making it seem like there will be 2 tax statements. So I want to go ahead and pick this one because it has more information, and I'm going to merge those. Okay, so now if I go back to the tax statements, it will should show Bonnie as merged. Here's another example that I want to show you is I did not do these by household. So you can see there are individuals here. So Julia and Mark, they were individuals. If they had been in a household, it would show as a household. So we will make sure that when the new ones come, I'll show you the households there. If I were to hit email, it would email all. I could also email individual ones. So I could go ahead and email out to John his specific one. If he needed an extra copy, he misplaced his, etc., I can send that email. I can also print. And we have these printed here. If you ever, here's a little trick. If you ever see on the bottom of your statement this funny little web link, you can always go into your printer settings and click headers and footers, and that will get rid of that. So obviously this is a test account, so it looks a little silly, but with our fun little candy logo, but that would be your church's logo. And then this is what your each individual tax statement would look like. When the donor receives the email, it looks like this. This particular area cannot be edited, but then they receive a PDF of their tax statement. And so it'll have your header here with your name and the signature, as well as whatever note you choose to put here. And then their donations will be listed by date on the following pages. I believe I just got my email. Yep. So here's your email saying your tax statements have been generated. So you can log in there and go from there. So we're going to go look at that new batch. I'm going to close this out. Look at these statements. Perfect. So here's where I wanted to show the difference in households. Here you can see it says 3. So if I click on this one, oops, nope, sorry. If I click on this one, I want to just view the individual tax statement for this. I can see that it is addressed to Bo, Boris, and Logan. This is the engineer's household. And so this will then show each individual donation that this group of engineers in their household made. So we have also on the end here listed as the donor the different names that are there. So I hope that that explains better what a household one would look like. Um, and again, that would be where you would merge them. The other thing that I do want to make sure that you understand is that if you hit email all, anyone that doesn't have an email address here won't be able to send. So you will need to print these, and you will need to, send those individually or go into your people section, find Kinsey and add an email address and then regenerate your statements and you should be able to email to Kinsey after that. So I'll just click the email all button here so that you guys can see what that looks like. It will ask you to print statements for donors without an email because we determined that there were some donors that did not have an email, or you can add the email address. So if I say print, then it will say that little note that you saw there is mostly because this is a test account. So don't worry if you see that. But then it would say, okay, print one statement. Okay, so this was the only one that didn't have a way to email. So we're good there to just print that. I will also say that if you are a church that likes to print all of yours and physically mail them, a number 9 window envelope does work for statements to be able to put those addresses in. So you should be good there. Statements cannot be edited. They cannot have any edits done formatting wise. So what pulls up here is exactly what you will be able to print. And we see you can always do, front to back, and then it's a single page. And that's really the gist of tax statements. And Julia, if you have any other things that you wanted me to mention, let me know. But I think that that's a pretty good overview.
Yeah, I think that's great. Great job, Chandler. We do have a number of questions that have been listed within our chat, but then also in our Q&A area. And we have like a great amount of time, so I just thought that we'd go ahead and talk about them live. I think that that would be easy enough for us. So the first question here that David actually shared was to make the determination to send individual versus household, would we need to know or wouldn't guidance be set by how the giver is filing their taxes, single, married, joint, or other? Do you have some helpful feedback for David?
Yeah, I think that's really determined by, a conversation with your donor. If you guys are pulling donations by household, they may just need a copy of both if they decide that they're filing jointly or individually. They may both just need to submit. But I think that that would be something that your donor could let you know. But that's not something that we would necessarily be able to, enter on our end, but it would be something that your donor would need to let you know.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, when you run those statements, you're running them for everybody at once in that system, but you also could do it both ways and just opt to choose whichever one you wanted to send to that particular person. That way you have both options there. Okay, and then Jason asked, does the household option also list total donations for each individual on the document? Do you know that
It,
offhand?
it does not list all of no, I don't believe so. Let's see. Let me share this back again. So great question. So it does not say the total amount for each donor. It just says what the total amount was for all donors included, but it does list the names. So you could manually add that up if needed.
Yeah, awesome. Um, Okay, so that's great. We also have a couple of questions on the logo for tax statements. Where is that logo coming from? A couple notes about our uh, testing system having some different logos. So, can you just share, maybe if you share your screen again and just share how you get to that logo and how you put that logo on your tax statements?
Yeah, so it's not actually part of the tax statements area. So you wouldn't need to put it in there. So let me share again real quick. So it would not be here. The only like if you're looking for like this image, that's what, sorry, the Zoom things are all in my way. That's what the logo is right here. That's that signature. So if you're seeing that, but then if you want to go ahead and update your logo for the actual organization, you would go to my organization. So global settings, my organization, locations, and then you click into here and go down here and you would select your logo and upload it from there. So that would be a logo for you that you could place.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's going to be super helpful for people just to be able to make sure your logo is updated and all of those things as well. Um, okay, another question that we had in our Q&A was, how does Tithely handle the death of a spouse? How are contributions transferred from the deceased name to the surviving spouse? What needs to be done to be sensitive to the surviving spouse with the tax statement?
So this is always a little tricky. And Julia, if you want to talk about the merging part, that I know we were discussing that a little bit. Um,
Yes.
there's definitely not an easy way to do that in terms of, it's always hard, and to make sure that we get that statement to the donor properly. The surviving spouse is always a priority. We do want to make sure. Um, there are a couple of ways. If they have only ever given under the deceased spouse's name, we could just simply just make the account under the, surviving spouse's name, and that would work. If they've both given, it gets a little more tricky, but we could still do some sort of merge. And Julia, I don't know if you want to talk to that.
Yeah, there is the ability that you could merge profiles, and so you could merge that deceased name into the surviving spouse. We would probably need to work with it a little bit in order for it to show up within merged profiles, but we would be able to also merge them so that all of their donations would be able to be within one as well. Again, this is all a very manual process. This isn't something that just happens within our system. We would definitely need the admin to go ahead and work through that. But that's something that if that's a scenario for you and for your church, I definitely recommend you reaching out to our support team. We absolutely can help you through that, kind of share options, and show exactly what is needed within the system, or needed to do within the system. So we can definitely come alongside you and help with that because we know that that's important to make sure it's showing correctly, but also to be sensitive as well. So yeah, please just let us know. And then Beverly here asked about some merging with duplicates and things like that. And we've actually, this is great timing to ask some questions about merging and duplicates as our team is doing a lot currently. As we prep for tax season, I'm making sure that merging and duplicates are all showing correctly. So as of right now, I can tell you that if you go and you merge people, you will then go back into tax statements and you would have to regenerate that tax statement to make sure that the merge that you just created is actually going to show properly in tax statements. If so all of everything that you merged should then show within one tax statement and everything would show and all of those transactions would be under that one tax statement. The only time, and this is actually something that was just pushed out here recently and very much like newly updated. So even if this is something that you saw last week, I would encourage you to go ahead and check again as we've been updating some things in our system. I would say the only caveat to this is if you have deleted profiles for someone, that deleted profile for that tax statement entry, as of right now, is still showing as a separate entry, and is not quite mergeable. And so we're going to definitely have a bit more as we're uncovering and figuring things out. But if you're seeing something funny, it could be because of a deleted profile, not necessarily a merged one. So definitely, if you have any problems with merging people and how it shows in tax statements, reach out to us so that we can go into your account and really uncover exactly what's happening for yours in particular. But also, if this is something that you've seen in the past, I would encourage you to go back and look at it again, just because we do have a lot of updates that we've made within our system as we have been prepping for tax season. I also had a question here, or a couple of questions that talked a little bit about how do I enter cash and check donations within Tithely, and that's actually going to be through admin batch giving, which is not in that tax statement area, but is on the left-hand side of your screen where it says admin batch giving. When you're within the giving area, you'll be able to click that and you would be able to enter in any cash or check entries that you might need to enter in. And if you need some more information on that, maybe need to be able to walk through that, that's something else that I would say. Reach out to our team. We have so many resources, or go into our help center and locate where admin batch giving is. We would be so happy to help you in figuring out how exactly it's best to input that into your system. Okay, there's been a lot in here. Let me,
I'll jump in here with one.
okay.
Um, that I'd like to, it says when you manually input, this is Velma here, input with admin batch giving or text giving, etc. And it does show, and you have a Breeze integration, do you have to enter it in both areas? So if you are entering admin batch giving and using text giving through Tithely, and you have your Tithely to Breeze integration turned on, then it will send over to Breeze. However, if you have been entering manually transactions into Breeze, it does not back up and send backwards to Tithely. So it's a one-way integration. However, with you tax statements, you can run them in Breeze or Tithely. You just need to determine where you've had your manual entries entered. That's the critical thing. So whichever program has the most transactions, it's easy to send Tithely to Breeze, but you cannot send Breeze to Tithely.
Mhm, mhm. That's great here. Okay, great. Okay, someone said, after running statements, can you save tax receipts in a file for your own records? You are able to download all of those, and then you can save those for yourself to have. So yes, you absolutely can do that as well. A couple other questions here in this chat. There's a question about completing some things within Move-In. Vicky, it's not something that I can fully know right now, but I'm sure our team can help if you just reach out to, if you already have someone you're working with, or if you just reach out to support@tide.ly, someone can absolutely help you and get that figured out for you. Not a problem. Um, and then, yes, I am not sure timing wise, but how would you integrate with cash and check donations made outside of Tidely? You can use admin batch giving that we mentioned before, and go ahead and walk through that process to enter those in. And then, does Tidely integrate with Power Church? We do not currently have an integration with Power Church. That is not on our integrations list right now. And then Shirley asked, does household statements show each giver separately? Chandler, do you know on that one if household statements show each giver separately?
They're not separate, just like I was showing earlier. They just list the name of the donor on the far right column. So they're not necessarily separated out. They just show you which one is which.
Yes. Yes.
Um, There are a couple of questions in here too that I want to jump in. Other than having a year-end tax statement, is there an option to run monthly or quarterly giving? You definitely can. Let me share my screen again real quick. So in the I have too many tabs open now. In the tax statements area, when we were looking at the dates, remember I was saying to pay attention to the this select year. You can always come down here and do a custom range, and then you could do it, quarterly. You could do it, January. You could do it January to September if you wanted, and you can generate that. So that's easy to do there. And then someone was also asking if I could show how to download the statements instead of printing them. So that's actually more of a printer setting. So what you would do is open up a batch and you would go ahead and say print all. And then you're going to get this pop up here. And in most cases, you would have this destination set to a printer. But if you just go ahead and say destination save as a PDF and hit save, that will give you a download as well.
Great. Okay, awesome. We have a question from a Breeze user about how to do statements from Breeze. We are actually having a webinar this Thursday, the 12th. That is at 12 p.m. CST. So they will walk through exactly what needs to happen on the Breeze side in order to go ahead and go through your text statements. I'm working on getting a link for that right now so that I can respond back to that directly. So once I get that, I can share that, and they will actually walk through exactly how that works on that webinar.
Julia, can
Um,
you touch on Beverly's question regarding duplicates in the Q&A section?
Yes, I see that. When you do have duplicates and you do merge them, they will show up within your tax statements as like a merged profile, and it will take all transactions and put them into one tax statements. How does it determine if donors are duplicates? Our system, it runs off of first name and last name to determine if you have donors who are duplicates. And if you need to merge those, you'll go within people, and then there is a merge option that you can click on in order to then merge everyone here. Chandler, do you have do you want to go ahead? Can you pull that up and show where within people that merge button is?
Yeah, absolutely.
If someone is not showing up as a duplicate, all you would need to do is you would actually just adjust their name to match, and then it will show up within the duplicates. There isn't a way to like do that outside of that. That would be your best bet there. So yeah, you'll be able to see that within people, Chandler's and people here, and then that little stacked icon there will show up all your duplicates, and you'll be able to merge them there.
And if it's, again, not finding a duplicate, then you could just go ahead and change the name. For example, if it's not pulling Sharon and, like if you typed out and, you might need to change the name of one of those contacts and get that to match. If not, if that doesn't work, then please contact support and we'll be happy to try to figure that out for you. There was another question from Pam. If a business gives and you associate that business with a donor in the church, does that business gift show on the individual giving statement? So the giving statements are based on email address. So if you have merged those profiles to say this business is also this donor, then yes, they will show up together. If you leave those profiles separate and they have separate email addresses and names, then they will pull separately. I also want to show real quick our little FAQ, Julia. Do you think that's a good time to do that?
Oh, yes, yes. The very last one here, can you show us how to download these statements to a file? Can you
I
share?
did that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm over here trying to do too many things at once. Awesome. Great. Okay, yes, I think now is a great time to walk through the FAQ that Chandler actually put together. These are just some things that we know are questions that we just wanted to make sure that we could answer for you.
Yeah, so if these are just some frequently asked questions that we receive during tax season, so we're just going to go through those real quick. let's see, the question here is donations are missing from my statements. Where are they? So this is a huge flag to make sure that you double check your giving funds and make sure that they're set to tax deductible. If that doesn't work, then you can contact support. So by that, we mean in your fund management area, you have the option to have a fund tax deductible or not tax deductible. If a donor has given to a not tax deductible transaction, it will not show on their tax statement. So you can always go ahead and change that fund and make it tax deductible and then regenerate your statements and they'll show up again. Will a donation given on December 31st count for 2024 tax statements? Yes, it will. You just have to wait until it has been deposited for it to actually show up on the statements, which is why in the very beginning, Julia suggested we suggest that you wait January 15th before you actually run any statements, just to make sure that any of those last minute donations are deposited and can show on the tax statements. When I generate statements, does it automatically send? Like I mentioned when I was doing the demo, no, you have to choose either email all or print all. And that is something that you would actually have to manually click that button. Is there a way to see the status of what statements have been sent via email? No, we do not currently have a visibility into the email deliverability for the admin side. So that's something that we hope to add in the future, but for right now, you would just have to ask your donors if they had received that email. If you're having any trouble saying, my donors are saying that they never received the email, but I know I clicked the button, double check the email address first, and then you can always reach out to support and we can check some deliverability on our end, and we can definitely look into that more. And then finally, our tax statements, Canadian Revenue Association compliant. And I want to emphasize this. Yes, we have worked extensively with CRA to ensure that our statements are in compliance. So in that automatic box where I was saying that has that ghost typing, we actually change that wording and add a couple of things that CRA requires to statements as well automatically if your organization is located in Canada. So I hope that that helps as well.
Hey, awesome. Okay, let me share my screen one last time here.
Do you want me to walk through fund? Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So very last here, guys, we've had a lot of questions. One, we love questions. We're so happy that you're interacting and chatting with us and talking with us because we truly want this to be such a seamless experience for you. If anything has caused you more questions or more confusion, or if you are driving home tonight and remember that there's just one piece of something that you really are still unsure about, please reach out to us. You can email us at support@tide.ly, and our team will be so happy to help you and get everything sorted so that you feel confident going into this season. Also, always a plug for our Facebook groups. We're always excited to have more customer interaction there. Maybe a question you have, someone else has. And so posing that into those groups also allow us to see where your questions are. If we ever need some feedback, we sometimes go to those Facebook groups and really look for any help there. All this to say, thank you guys so much. Thank you for spending 45 minutes, an hour with us today on your Tuesday. We know that your time is valuable as a church admin, and we just really want to equip you with the best tools to make this a successful tax season for you, and honestly, just to make it really enjoyable for you and nothing that is stressful. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for all of your questions, all of your input. We are really looking forward to just being able to help you in any ways possible. So that's all, guys. I really appreciate all of your time. So thank you. Thank you so much. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
And you will get a copy of this video if you have signed up. If you're here, we will send out a link to this video as a just so that everybody can have to go through again if you need it. Okay, that's all. Thank you, guys.